Hey, welcome to the Razzle Dazzle Show, a podcast where we make connections through the lens of video games and all things pop culture. I'm your host, Jared, and this week on the show, we welcome back Isaac Robinson Smith, the voice of Bishop in X-Men 97. With Season 2 on the horizon, we're diving deep into X-Men the Animated Series, the legacy of the X-Men, why these stories still resonate decades later, and what it's like stepping into one of Marvel's most iconic universes. We also talk about Bishop's impact, the emotional themes behind the X-Men, nostalgia versus evolution, and why this franchise continues to connect with generations of fans. Please let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet, and be sure to follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Links to them are down below. And with all that being said,
it's Razzle Dazzle time!
Hello, Isaac. Welcome back to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. And you know what's funny is we were talking a second ago, but I didn't realize I wore this shirt completely subconsciously. This is not planned. I just happened. Something in me must have been like, you got to wear that. I literally have no idea why. I should have known. I should have planned. But happy accident. So I'm happy to be here. And I'm excited because, you know, you and I are both stoked for season 2. And
yes. Oh, my God. Who's that?
So much I haven't seen.
Who's that on the shirt? I can't even tell from the...
Oh, it's a sentinel on the front.
Oh, my God.
This is a not Roosevelt's. This is a... Oh, actually, no. This might be a Rose... I think this is a Roosevelt's shirt. It's those, like, Hawaiian-looking shirts that have, like, cool patterns on there.
Yeah.
One of the t-shirt designs, but then... I don't know if you can see, but on the back, you see some of that.
Yo.
Yeah. It's cool. Like, I like the simple design when it's, like, one line or one color on... But yeah, so still happy to be part of this. Thank you for bringing me back on. I'm excited to talk.
Of course, man. I was thinking about it. You know, I getting ready for Lenore Zan's episode, getting ready for Julia and Eric Leewald's episode, which is coming soon. Everybody, it's probably going to come out after this episode, so a week from when this releases. There you go. Getting ready for their episodes, I'm like, you know, I've never seen the X-Men the Animated Series before. I've watched Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, Spider-Man the Animated Series. We recorded an episode with Alex Robson from BTAS podcast.
I love Alex. First of all, I love their podcast.
Yeah, shout outs.
Yes.
Shout outs to Batman the Animated Series and Spider-Man the Animated Series podcast with Will and Alex Robson. They are amazing people. Hilarious. Which you've been a guest on their show too.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah.
Freaky. Yeah.
So in prep for all this, I've never seen it before. I've been itching to get into the X-Men because this is like one of the biggest franchises within media that I have yet to touch. And I figured, you know what? I've already spoken to a few X-Men before, like you, like JP, like Courtney. I might as well watch it finally. And I did. And not only did I watch the animated series and 97, I also watched Evolutions and Wolverine and the X-Men. Like every show, every movie, I was like binge watching everything for like 2 weeks straight. And it was awesome. And I was thinking, you know what? I want to do an episode on the original animated series. And I figured who better to do it than Bishop, the time-traveling mutant, because you get to bounce around any kind of timeline, any kind of period. You're currently in 97. Let's go back a few more years and talk about this.
Yes.
So, just right off the bat, what was your first exposure to X-Men in general, not just the animated series?
Yeah. In general, it's a little hazy, only because in 1992 I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe around 90, probably toward the end of the show, like 95 or 96, or even in later years like 98 or 99, when I could actually remember what I was seeing. I think it's weird. I don't remember. Okay, two parts to this. One, I remember watching the show, but not very clearly, but I recognized it. Like when I was going back to research the show and learn about it again for our show for 97.
Yeah.
I had some memory of the theme song, some memory of like what the show looked like, how it felt. So, I mean, I was literally just telling this to my girlfriend today. It is a sad era in time for multiple reasons, but not the least of which is that the Saturday morning cartoon block doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And that was, I think even aside from the X-Men part of it, I remember it fondly because it was part of that period of time where it's like you woke up at 7 a.m., and watched 5 hours of cartoons from all the networks for all the shows. And I loved picking like my own lineup. Like we'd go from like Recess, and then like Yu-Gi-Oh would be on next. Pokemon would be on, and then Pepper Ann would be on, and then Disney's Doug, like all these things. But X-Men and Batman animated series and Spider-Man, all that stuff was part of that 90s Saturday morning thing. So like that sort of nostalgia is what I recall mostly at that point in time. But the real X-Men like jumping in point was actually the films, the 2000s movies. My friend Beck and I, my best friend since a freshman year of high school, we would make fun of Cyclops all the time in the way he talked. Well, Jason Marsden, he's great, but or James Marsden. I never remember which Marsden it is. There's two.
Yeah, James. I think it's James.
Yeah. And I loved the movies. I loved the live action part of it. It was the first, that early like 2000 and 2005 or 6 era of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Was my jam.
Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that was my gateway drug. I have actually, or is it? It's up here on my wall. I bought it's going to be 25 next year, but I bought the 20th anniversary gold vinyl version of the score. I love Danny Elfman. So I have that hanging on my wall. And that was the first time that I was really hooked into Marvel. So from that point forward, I was really down for anything. And so I started to explore. So the movies, particularly X2, X-Men United, was I think my favorite of the series.
X-Men United.
Yeah, it's the one. I just, the opening is so cool to me. How the guy came into the completely acrylic like prison, and Magneto's in
I
there.
see.
And, yeah,
I'm gonna be honest, I did not know that was the subtitle for X2.
Oh yeah, X2
Wow.
X-Men United. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I love that opening jailbreak scene with Ian McKellen. He was a boss, still is a boss. And I think just so many of the performances. There's so many things to love about it, but yeah, it was X2 was where it really hit for me, and then I watched all the other stuff, and then the show, and so all of that was sort of simmering amidst like my love of Spider-Man and all the villains and heroes that came with his world. So that was a very long answer to a very short question.
No, I love it. That's what we're here for.
How it all began,
I love this. I mean, you should know by now that we love tangents here on the show.
Yes,
man.
I'm glad.
So then, what exactly about the X-Men latched onto you as a kid? Was it the powers, just that they were super cool, the characters, or like the deeper outsiders theme? Like, we fight to protect a world that fears and hates us. What was it?
At first, it was. I mean, it starts simple and then it gets more complex as my life went on.
Right.
I think it started with, it's another thing that Stan Lee created. Great. I want to know more about who he made. So that's, I got into, so like I went from Spider-Man to Daredevil to X-Men to Fantastic Four. Anything that Stan Lee had a hand in creating, I was really into researching him. So it started kind of there. Then it became, this is a really cool story with these people that have really cool powers, and I love the way they visualized it, especially in the 2000s. I feel like CGI then is still better than some of the effects. Right? The actors were spectacular. The action was great. The storytelling was great. Then it started to evolve. Honestly, it was sort of dormant for a while after I left high school and went to college. And it was like back there, I watched it. And I loved X-Men First Class. That came out when I was in college.
Yeah.
Freaking loved that movie. Then I think around the time of beginning this show, it sort of began to evolve into more of what Stan Lee was trying to say with the storytelling and what he was writing, I think, I don't remember where I read this, and I don't quote me on it being true, but I remember reading somewhere that Professor X and Magneto are sort of, I guess, allegorical connect, if that's the right word. They're connected to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. on
right.
Racism and segregation. And I was like, what a cool, deep and direct, but like really interestingly subconscious way to put that message into kids and into adults about how things are happening and how things are being handled. And then I think as I did this show, as I did 97, it evolved again to knowing that there's a hunger for people to want to belong in a certain place and be seen in a way that makes them feel safe. And the X-Men deals with that on obvious and not obvious levels. And I think it's really cool how they do that. And so I think it sort of started with like awesome comic books and I want to know more, but I think something underneath that must have grabbed me because even as a kid, when I was into Spider-Man, I didn't really know why I was into Spider-Man. I just knew that I loved the movie and I loved the music and I loved the visuals and I wanted to know as much as I could. I still do. And then I learned later on, I was like, oh no, this is one, my parents were divorcing at the time that movie came out. So it was sort of my saving grace while all that chaos was happening. Spider-Man was the thing that like kept me steady. But also I think what I attached to then that I wasn't aware of is Spider-Man can be anyone. And I love that when Spider-Verse came out, it sort of showed more of a spectrum. So I like the idea. And something else Stan Lee said too, where he said something like, it doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, where you come from. Once you put on the mask, you're Spider-Man also. And I like that he was like me, like he had problems and he was a nerd and he didn't really get everything that he wanted, especially in the way that he wanted, and had to make choices. And, you know, the way he dealt with that was just so eloquent and so funny at times and so deep at other times. So there's a lot there. But I think those themes, I think were always there, but I didn't really know how to articulate why I connected to them so on such a deep level when I was a kid. But now that I have had 10 years of therapy and can articulate myself, you know, in a way that makes sense to people, and I can think about things critically and look back, I think that was a big reason why I connected to those and still do connect to all that stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. So like, is it more that you're connecting with the team and what they go through, or was there like a specific character within the X-Men that you latched onto because they resonate with you, like Spider-Man did?
Yeah, Spider-Man for sure did. That was definitely character resonance. When I watched X-Men, I think it was what characters? It was Nightcrawler, because I love Alan Cumming. I was familiar with him at the time. I mean, he's done a million things. You know, he's an incredible actor. At the time, I only knew him from Spy Kids as Fruit One. So that's where I first saw Alan Cumming.
Oh, Spy Kids!
Yeah,
man, what a trip!
Yeah, I saw all those in theaters.
Did you have the DVD of Spy Kids 3D that came with like the 3D glasses? Because I did.
I don't remember, but I think I wanted it and I knew it existed. Yeah, really cool. So I knew Alan Cumming from that, and I liked his performance in this. And also, I grew up religious, and so that was, you know, a cool dimension to his character. You know, the struggle with faith and things, which is a whole other side of my development, which I've consistently in conversation with my therapist about. You know, those sorts of things, which is fascinating. But that whole idea of faith in the character was cool. And then also weirdly with Magneto, with Ian McKellen, because of the whole Holocaust backstory. Someone that's growing up with a very clear story of trauma that has fueled where they are in their life now always fascinates me. I always am compelled by watching characters that have that. And a lot of these characters do. They have some sort of thing that's happened to them and something that's going on. And I think I maybe attributed it to what I was going through as a teenager, the things that I was dealing with and things I was trying to work through. And yet they made the best of what they could, and they became these things and became these people. So it was partly the characters, those two specifically, but it was also the team and what they were doing. And I think the inherent good and evil sort of storyline, you know, that's pretty fun to attach to as a kid anyway, because, you know, you can easily go to those are the stories that I think we went to the most when I played, you know, with my brother, with various stories. Like a good versus evil story is always fun. So
understood.
Yeah.
For me, watching the animated series for the first time around, I don't think I resonated with a character all that much. Like there wasn't just one character where I'm like, man, I like that's me to a T. But there were, I mean, all of them have their special uniqueness to them. Of course, even like watching like some of the character specific episodes, you know, like when like Beauty and the Beast, right? When Beast was, you know, was trying to rescue his blind girlfriend, stuff like that. Like I watched that episode today and I'm like, man, that's a good freaking episode.
Yeah.
But like there wasn't a point where I'm like, man, like I see myself in this character. My favorite episode in the series is where Cyclops goes back to his orphanage, and has to deal with like Kilgrave, the Purple Man, and like how he's taking advantage of all these kids and stuff. Just because like that's a standalone episode where the only hero is Cyclops in there, and like it's personal. We get to see like a lot of struggles between not just like him as a character, but like even how kids are also being affected by this, him being a mutant as a kid, all that stuff, right? Like I was like, man, this is probably like the best episode in the series in my opinion. And then I started reading X-Men comics for the first time recently. And I was reading this graphic novel called Homecoming, where it's like post Krakoa stuff, like fallout of Krakoa. Scott's team is like in Alaska, and they're like, just trying to survive there and stuff like that. And there's this like one scene where like Scott was talking to this government agent or whatever. The government agent was like threatening to like invade their base and like arrest or his entire team, and like he talks back and like stands up for his team, like being the leader and all that stuff, right? Cuts to him leaving to the bathroom, and he like has this breakdown moment of like, God damn it, Scott, just lead.
Wow.
That spoke to me because leadership to me is like very, like I hold that up to very like it's very important to me because I was in the Army JROTC for so long. I've always been in a leadership position. This show, I'm also in a leadership position, so I'm like seeing how other leaders who are always portrayed to be the strong, unwavering type, like Optimus Prime and stuff like that. Seeing Cyclops through this show, that's how I've always seen him. So I'm like, there's no problem with Scott, but like seeing this one moment in the comics, I'm like, there's more to him. So like, watching different aspects or reading different aspects of these characters make me see them in a different way, especially coming to the animated series, which is considered the like one of the best renditions of these characters in Marvel history.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that the source material is still so strong.
Yeah.
And you think about the fact that it's going on 60 years of existing.
Oh my God.
Is insane. Like, like the relevancy of it is so fascinating to me, and also sad sometimes, but also inspiring. I think you hit on a thing where like when we can see that there's more human to these people, it's great. I mean, one example that I'm straying away from X-Men for a second, going with Marvel, but one real life example, and I talk about him a lot because he comes up a lot, is Chadwick Boseman. When Chadwick was doing Black Panther and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and somewhere else around that time frame, like he had cancer even then. Stepped up to do these things that he knew were important. But knowing that there was a struggle there, I think made him even more his presence was more reverberated more for me, even at that point, just to see someone who went through that, was a leader, struggled through it, but did. And I love the idea of being brave and strong. Doesn't mean that you are, fearless. It means you're scared, but you still do it anyway. I thought that was an example of that.
So. Oh my God. Yeah, I totally understand. And now I want to ask, what we were talking about, like multiple different versions of, or multiple different medias of the X-Men and like where we've seen them. Yeah. What do you think X-Men, the animated series, understood about the X-Men in general that a lot of adaptations still struggle to capture?
That's a really good question.
Because I find it fascinating that when I was talking to Eric and Julia, they say this in like every interview, but they told me that like when they got the job to be the story writers for the show, they knew nothing about the source material.
Yeah.
Like the night before, Eric went out and got these playing cards of all the X-Men characters with like the little descriptions, and he was reading them. He was trying to read as much as possible for like the big meeting with Stan Lee and Larry Houston the next day.
Yeah.
To try to not be ignorant. So like I feel like it's interesting how animated series has become known as the definitive version of these characters, even though they like knew nothing at the very start. So like that, I wanted to ask, like, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it made it stronger because there's something to be said about not letting the influence of what you already know kind of color what the thing is going to become eventually. Like, I forget who I was talking to. It was my agent actually, who was telling me about one of the clients of my agent, and it's so terrible. I don't remember which role it is, but he's booked some major role in a Star Wars animated show. I think it might have been Rebels, something like that. Some big deal. But before he got the role, he knew nothing about Star Wars. He really hadn't seen anything. He sort of knew that it existed, but he didn't have any context going in. And apparently Dave Filoni really enjoyed that about him because he brought something that was new and authentic to who the character was, not like the presentation or the archetype of who the character is sort of become collectively. It was like, no, I'm just coming at it as I would any other character that I'm sort of trying to emulate, what they're going through, what their objectives are, what the goals are. So I think that maybe what the animated series did well is they had the source material, but they were able to augment the character's direction in a way that maybe was unexpected because they didn't have any preconceived like plan as far as like, okay, well, we have this character, we know exactly how he or she acts in the comic books. We have to follow that path exactly, but instead took, I think, overall themes or descriptions or, attitudes and sort of applied that to stories that they were creating, which makes it so much more interesting when it's like, oh, okay, here's a cool new look at a character that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it's better. I don't know, but that's my theory.
I feel like one of my coworkers, he's like doing me justice with teaching me X-Men stuff. He's like a big X-Men fan. He's been loving it since growing up with the animated series. Yeah. He has lent me like half a dozen, maybe more, of graphic novels, all X-Men related, right? Yeah. And because I've told him like, hey, I'm like learning more about them, like, let's talk, whatever. And he's like, here you go. Like a giant stack, right? Yeah. And I've been reading through them, and I'm reading through all these classic stories that are like, well known within X-Men. And I'm seeing now retrospectively, I guess, retroactively, how well the writing team adapted a lot of these stories into the animated series with like their own twists and stuff, whatever. But like they're pretty freaking accurate, like the Phoenix Saga and stuff. Like they did an amazing job. And speaking of that, as someone who is coming into a character already established in the animated series, Bishop.
Yeah.
I like that you use that bit of your friend who was in Star Wars who knew nothing, but like you knew about the existence of Bishop, of course. You've seen the show.
Yes.
How was that like? How's that in translation for you to step into him in 97?
What's funny is it was a revisiting. I had honestly forgotten about the character a little bit. But I saw him. I mean, I remembered him from the movies, kind of. I was aware that the character existed, but I had to go back and watch clips of the show on YouTube to like remind myself. But I think that was good because it was exactly the same thing. I was like, I know this guy is here, and I must have seen him as a kid, but I have no recollection of what happens to him necessarily in the show or like what goes on. I knew that sort of what his powers were and all that. But it allowed me a little bit more freedom and relaxation to just be like, I'm just going to emulate what Philip Aiken has done to the best of my ability. And that audition got turned in late. It was due on Friday afternoon, and I, for whatever reason, saw it later. And I was like, can I extend to Monday? Like, I haven't gotten to this yet. So I got very lucky that it worked out for me. But, I'm kind of happy I didn't, like, if it had been like Miles Morales, Spider-Man character, there would have been a lot more going into, like, oh, I know exactly who this is and I know what I need to do. But thankfully, to my advantage in my own brain, I had less to pull from, and so I had more to create with.
Love it.
Authentically.
Oh my God. I love it. And also it goes to show like how much the original team loves these characters, and of course their fellow team members of bringing back, these legacy voices, these legacy actors to play or reprise their roles if available and if possible. Obviously Lenore Zan is a big one, but like also newcomers like you and AJ, bringing your own unique, I guess, take, for lack of a better word, but like you're still like honing in to what made these characters great from the original show. And I think that's amazing. I absolutely love that. And as someone who, again, never grew up with this show, I grew up in a Steve Blum Wolverine world.
Yeah.
So like going back and listening to the original Wolverine's voice, I'm like, oh man, that's jarring.
Yeah. See, and that's the voice that I have. Cal's voice is the one that I hear.
Right.
I do hear Steve Blum's is definitely in there also, but I think Cal is like, locked in. Him and now Hugh Jackman, I think.
Yeah, man. Oh my God.
It's funny, if you ever get AJ on the show.
He said yes. I'm just we're working on his schedule, man.
Hey, I hope that he tells his Gambit story, because like he's had an affection for the character way more deeply than I had, or even was aware of for mine. So like it's such a cool story with him. But yeah, he'll tell you. A
quick, easy question then. Do you have a favorite episode?
That's a really good question. Man, there's so many cool ones. I think you hit it. It's not one, it's multiple. I love the Phoenix Saga.
Yeah.
I know it's like a lot of people's answer, but like
I get it, man.
It's great.
It's one of the biggest events.
Yeah. I would have hated waiting a week in between when I was a kid watching that. I still hate waiting if I have to, but there's still some shows that do the weekly release. But
Daredevil's doing it now, which I'm loving. Maul is doing it now.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
But no, man, that's completely fair. Like I said, for me, that Cyclops episode with the orphans and stuff, like there's something about that I love, because it's not like just a superhero show at that point. That's like it's more it's humanizing. But like for the Phoenix Saga, it's encapsulating the epicness that the X-Men have within Marvel.
Right.
Like, what do you mean these superheroes like deal with aliens and go out to space on the regular?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're not talking about the Fantastic Four here. We're not talking about the Avengers. We're talking about mutants, and they deal with aliens. Why? Because why the hell not?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The people know what they want, and they gave it to them.
Yes. And I'll be honest, like that's kind of like one of the biggest things that kind of intimidated me into getting into the series. X-Men in general, like the whole, like I knew about the whole time travel. There's like a whole bunch of different timelines and parallel universes and whatever, Days of Future Past, Cable, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm already dealing with Zelda for one thing.
Yeah.
That's already like kind of complicated in its own right. And I'm like, I don't know if I can follow along, especially like just reading comics, because at the time I wasn't aware of the show. And I'm like, man, just like, where the hell do I even start reading? You know?
Yeah.
And if there's all these other things that don't matter or like are not canonical, I don't want to get lost.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that like I overcame that and watched it. Did you have any issues like getting into the franchise at all?
No, not really. I mean, no. Like I said, it was all a Marvel thing.
Yeah.
No disrespect to DC at all. This, but Marvel is where I really have centered, and so no, I think everything having to do with that universe and those sorts of different kinds of superhero stories was always easy for me to attach to. And I mean, it just fueled more of my want to know more. And of course, I'm a collector also,
right.
So like have, comics and things. And so just cool to be connected to it in that way. And to know that I am getting other people into it by proxy. Because, there's kids that are watching it now that have never seen it before.
Right.
Starting with X-Men 97 and then pull it back. So kind of peripherally getting other people into the same stuff is a cool reward, I think.
Yes, of course it is. And on that note, for the people who grew up with it, of course, like why do you think this series specifically stuck with people in a way that any other 90s cartoons didn't? I mean, it's going up against Batman, Spider-Man. What do you think, in your opinion, makes it so special?
Well, each character, not that the other ones don't have this,
Yeah.
but sort of in Spider-Man and Batman, for example, the singular hero and villain line is pretty well defined, with the exception maybe at times the Joker, you're not really sure, like in Batman, like who is he really side with, what's he doing, but everybody in X-Men has their own set of ideas and morals and thoughts and beliefs that all either can work together or can be completely separate or can split off or can get challenged. And it's like taking a million Batman and a million Superman and putting them all in one. Like, it's kind of like, to me, it's like Spider-Verse before the Spider-Verse. All these different kinds of people that are sort of in a similar group, but all having different ideas about how the world works is awesome. Like, I always, I chuckle when I get, the dichotomy of seeing like Magneto next to Beast, two completely different people that are sort of going after the same philosophy of how do we deal with humanity versus, us. But the way that they approach it is so different, and those combinations can become so varied and so colorful with the X-Men. So I think that it's always interesting, and I always see new characters I didn't know existed, and I'm wondering about stuff like that.
Yeah, like Alpha Flight. Like, who the hell are those guys?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, and remembering and forgetting about, but then seeing that, like, the mutants that are underground that are not tolerated because of their visually not acceptable. I'm like, oh yeah, mutants that aren't human looking, of course, duh, why didn't I think of that? So the dimensions to it just are so cool. And now I'm distracted by saying the word dimensions because the Backrooms movie is coming out in a month, and I'm stoked for that. And the dimension. But anyway, the reason I connected to that is because the further you get, the more complex it gets.
Right.
The deeper it goes. So, but to me, I think that's why X-Men still sticks, is because there is literally someone for everyone in this show.
And also they get to play a lot with like cameos and stuff.
Yes.
Especially
cameos
using Morph.
Yeah. Oh, I love what they're doing with Morph in X-Men 97. Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I love seeing fan favorites like Psylocke making like a quick little tiny appearance, and then like she gets brought back later in season 4, I think, and then we get to see like a flash of Deadpool for like a second thanks to Morph. I'm like, oh well, hey, that's cool. Yeah. We're just gonna pass by that, yes, because it's a living world and these characters have history.
Yeah, and that pulls you in. Leave them wanting more. So linger for a second, and it's very enticing. It's really, really clever.
Yeah. And speaking of like these messages, the X-Men in general, but especially the animated series, got to like really tell. Do you think X-Men works best when it leans into those allegories, or when it focuses more on character-driven storytelling?
Tough call, because they're both really strong.
Right?
Yeah.
And it does such a good job at both. We have episodes where we focus on a single character or two, and we focus on a bigger message.
Right. I think, that's a good one. I think that just barely by a hair, I think the allegorical storytelling maybe works. I think is my preferred part of the story, only because I like it when a message is told and then you're thinking about it like 15 years later. Like that's when it's loosely connected to this quote I saw actually in my, I think it was the laundromat I live near, Milton Needy's. They always have cool sayings on their marquee out there. And it was something to the degree of which there are various versions of this, but it's people will forget what you said and what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. I think that's where this comparison comes in, where the characters, sure, you'll remember them and you probably have favorite ones that you like and that you connect to. But the way the stories made you feel and what you took from them will continue to influence your being far beyond when you think it's going to. I think it's always sticking with you, which I think is why, kind of going back to the beginning of this, why X-Men stuck, but I didn't understand why and why it continued to work. Something of that nature, I think, was going on, where it was, the lessons and the message was coming through loud and clear, but I needed to grow to understand what it was, I guess.
Right. And X-Men has always been about prejudice, identity, and belonging, talking about these messages it brings out. Why do you think those themes are still hitting just as hard today, still making the X-Men relevant today?
Well, the obvious answer is what's happening in the world with current events. There's such a divide with so many different things and so much pain that there's I think a deep, I've used that word a lot in this conversation. There is a wealth of a need for more people to be heard because people are being silenced, people are being pushed out, people are harmed in ways that they didn't expect and are not deserved. And it can be so demoralizing is the lightest term I can think of for this kind of thing. And yet taking it to this show and other things like this show that demonstrate that people that are going through that still find resilience somewhere and still find a way to connect and still make a path toward an end with a lot of light is, I think, something that we all need all the time, especially now, given what's going on. So I think that's why it hits just as hard, if not harder, right now. There was another thought in there, I can't remember. I lost it. But yeah, I think it's one of the many reasons why it hits. It hits for me, for sure. So.
Right. It's a perfect example of how a group of people can come from any and all kinds of backgrounds. Doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter what gender they are, doesn't matter their sexuality, doesn't matter, nothing else matters. But they, in terms of like, they come together to still fight for what's right, for how, the message of, fighting against or protecting people, even though they fear and hate them, like they're still trying to accomplish the greater good, despite the fact that people are gonna push back and they still keep going. Yeah. I mean, that's that can be said about so many other projects. That can be said about so many different IPs and stories and characters, singular as well. But like the X-Men takes it a bit further, it's unique in a way because it combines so many different things that people fear and hate into one entity, I guess, and that's how they're still trying to show like you can be this kind of person and someone is still going to have a problem with you, but you can still persist and like get through that hump or whatever and still prevail and like still make a stand and like, bring good into other people's lives. Do the right thing. And just, I think that is the core of what, I know I love that about the X-Men. I know watching through this show for the first time, I'm like, I knew that this was what the X-Men were about, but man, I was so unaware of how like literal they're being and like showing these examples of like, the Friends of Humanity stand for a certain specific type of mentality. And yet the X-Men still are trying to teach us, the viewers, not talking down to us, but like still showing us like there's a way to handle stuff like this. And it isn't violence or it isn't through hatred. It isn't through that same lens. So I think that's amazing. I think that's great.
And that's another reason it works. You said something great, which is that it doesn't talk down to you.
Yes.
It's super important. Because shows that do that pander, maybe they're effective for a little while, but eventually people turn away from that. Like, you don't want to be treated less than or like you don't know as much.
Yeah.
But I love that they take the intelligence of the audience into account. Even the kids that are watching are like, kids understand. I hate when people are like, well, they're too young to get this. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they do, and probably better than you.
Yeah.
Like the
they're sponges.
Yeah, exactly.
They pick up on everything.
Yeah.
They may not get it yet, but they will.
They will. Yeah. Again, the allegorical storyline and the storytelling.
Yeah.
With the character mix. It's such a cool thing that they do.
Yeah. And I like that they focus on this version of the team. Like they could have done like I don't know the original X-Men for all we care, you know, but they didn't. They chose a real like a real diverse cast, and also just I can't even imagine dealing with such a big group of a cast or of a crew to fit into like 24-minute episodes. Everybody's still having a part, everybody's still having a role, even if we're like doing spin-offs or like one-offs, but like each person is here for a reason. There's like no wasted space in my opinion.
Everything has a point to it. And that's what I think is smart about how they put it together. And there are some episodes where I feel like it's fun where they're just like, you know, doing the big superhero thing. Like this is just this is a superhero episode sometimes. Like whenever they fight Apocalypse, I'm like, oh, okay. The guy that just wants to destroy the world, and then they're like, no, love it. Love having some fun every now and again. Like it gives levity in between like the serious stuff when going against Creel or Kelly or whatever. I think it's great. It's like finding that balance. Like it's amazing, and still like keeping true to that in '97. Now with like a lot less episodes for still roughly the same amount of time, I think, and you're still like conveying a very strong, focused story. Throughout. I think it's amazing, man. It's really cool. And that's why I'm not a writer, because I can't. I can make the words sound real, but I can't write them.
Right.
Yeah.
Then what do you think modern audiences misunderstand about the X-Men message, or could misunderstand?
I like the question. I think I would change. Not that I think misunderstand is a great word for it. I think one word that I think when I think about that is maybe underestimate what it is. And I don't think it's any more complicated than, oh, it's a cartoon. Okay, well, I don't care then. That's not the general majority of people that I hang out with, at least, because I'm definitely in the nerd sphere and culture. So it's always whatever you love is whatever you love. And I always love learning about more stuff that I don't know about, no matter what medium it takes. But I think the misunderstanding can come in and this is what happened, I think, when it was being created, was a kids show that's supposed to emulate these adult themes. How do you do that? And that's not possible. And it's going to be either really cheesy or way too over their heads. But I think maybe the misunderstanding can come in that it is an animated field that they're working these stories into, and people may or may not necessarily treat it with the seriousness of like a Leonardo DiCaprio drama, for example. Like that seems to engender more of a trust that this is going to be a good, real story that we love, that's dramatic, and that's authentic and has weight to it, when that exact same thing is happening with our show, but you just have to give it a chance. I think that's maybe where the misunderstanding. Like I have a friend who we've had discussions. I'm an enormous musical theater fan. Happens as a kid. My mom was a theater performer and theater teacher, and so I grew up listening to the records of various shows, and I still watch musical theater. I've done musical theater a long time. And I have a friend who we had a conversation, and they're not fans of it at all. And I didn't understand. And one of the reasons was that they just don't think that, singing in the middle of dialogue in the middle of a show is realistic. So that takes away from the integrity of the show because you're singing, and that doesn't really happen. And they're like, well, people don't really have powers either. These situations with these characters and other forms of entertainment are being theatricized or whatever, but there's still groundedness, there's still heart there's still really intense messages being conveyed. So I think that's where I get on my high horse a little bit, is when people take it to be like, and like I said, I've never run into this, but I just think there could be a misunderstanding, because I have run into people in my life that have talked about things, especially in an animated sense, where it's like, oh, it's just that thing for kids, or oh, it's just that thing that it's not really, there's no real
animation equals no substance.
Right, exactly. which I'm really happy that eventually people started to see that, especially in things like, the awards that are out there, when animation began to become, when Beauty and the Beast, speaking of Beauty and the Beast, when that got nominated for Best Picture alongside Silence of the Lambs. Hang on a second. No, this tells some serious stuff. Like, and now animation is so cool, like with all these different things. I mean, you get things like Love, Death, and Robots coming out. That's just revolutionary. So anyway, all that being said, I think the misunderstanding that animation equals childish or not as important, I would hope would be reversed now that we're making shows like this. X-Men 97 really. And even when I was talking to my agent yesterday, even he was saying, he's like, I wasn't sure because it was X-Men was coming back and a lot of us were unsure what it would be. And even I, me as Isaac, wasn't sure because, I was like, I don't know how they're going to recreate the magic of what the original was. But even my agent was saying, like, I thought it was going to be like weird or too kiddie or whatever. And he's like, no, it's actually really well done. It's got some heat on it. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. You brought up a point that I want to touch upon a bit more. What do you think it is about, like, when telling stories that talk about these heavier topics, these heavier stories, why do you think it's easier for us to maybe like gravitates towards, understand, maybe because the characters themselves have like these, extraordinary abilities, for example? So like, why do you think us as humans see like a superhero film and we're like, wow, this superhero film talked about this type of stuff? I feel like that's like so cool and so awesome. Do you think it's like makes it easier for us to digest compared to just like a straight up like grounded drama or whatever? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I think it can. I think what can happen is maybe the superpowers could be an exaggeration of something that's real. I have to follow this thread at some point to look it up, but somebody pointed out, it was a friend of mine, I can't remember who, so I'm sorry if you're listening and I forgot who you are. But someone in my life who's smarter than me about storytelling talked about The Incredibles, another great superhero story. Right. And how, yes, they had all these powers and they were really cool and they enhanced how the story was told. But then she pointed out, and I thought this was amazing, I was like, well, if you think about it, the powers themselves are sort of an extension of what each of these people identifies with or deals with in the, like, Elastigirl, I'm the mom, so I have to stretch myself a million directions to make sure the family stays together. The dad, super strength. I have to stay strong for my family even when I'm suffering. Violet, who's the girl who can turn invisible. She's a teenager. She doesn't really fit in, so her power is to, shy away. And then Dash is, just the pent up 10-year-old, energy metabolism at 1,000 miles an hour kid. So running around makes sense. So like all these things are sort of extensions of what they deal with in life. So I think maybe there's something in there that could be why we attach to it more. I've said this in interviews before, but my theory for myself that I keep for Bishop is the fact that he is someone that can take in any kind of energy and push it back with the same force. That to me is a black story, because to me it represents on a bigger scale this heavy centuries-long oppression toward black people that we have since taken in and pushed back with the same force, but in a different way. So I sort of make that power for Bishop. That's how I make it my own. Because that's how I like to think about it. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that was even in the consideration for anything that they were doing when they designed him. But that's how I like to think about it because it makes it more, more connected for me when I think about things like that, So anyway,
wow,
question somewhere in there.
It does. No, 100%. It allows these powers that these characters have is a way for their weaknesses to be brought up closer to the surface.
Yeah.
In a way for us to see and recognize. Like Cyclops, he is literally wearing rose tinted goggles all the time. Ruby tinted.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I mean? So like, Rogue is one of the best examples, I think. And I feel like a lot of people connect with Rogue a lot in this way of like, she's unable to touch anyone.
Right.
She feels like, that's like all she wants is to make a connection, and yet she can't. And I feel like a lot of people resonate hard with that.
Oh, yeah.
Wolverine is another one, like someone who's been around for so long. Is just tired of everything, but like, he has to just keep going through it because there's nothing else he can do with it. He's literally carrying so much weight within him.
Inside, exactly, yeah.
With his adamantium skeleton, like what? Like, so morph identity issues, and dealing with that. And of course, it's taken into another a step further with 97 with like mental health issues. And JP, the way he like brings that out is amazing. It's like there's a lot of, and I guess in another way, it's like making these weaknesses your strength.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your bit.
Of course.
I love it. Is there a storyline, past or present, within X-Men in general, you think defines what the X-Men are really about? Off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, man. I mean, I go to the classic Sentinel never-ending battle because I've been that. Which I guess sort of makes sense because it's always pushing against a force that they can never really put down all the way, and it kind of keeps it compelling and interesting. There's always a way that it's springing up. I think general storyline. I'm trying to think of something specific. I don't know. Nothing is really jumping out other than that because that's the most consistent like battle that they go through.
Yeah.
Which I know is a lame answer, but
no, it's not.
I think that's the one that I would say off the top of my head. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Then I guess as we head in, towards the landing, what does it mean to you personally as a fan? And I'm sure you get this a lot, but I still want to ask.
No, ask me.
What does it mean to you personally as a fan of Marvel, as a fan of these characters, to now be a part of something that has shaped so many people, including yourself, including me, your loved ones? You know what I mean? Like what does that mean to you?
It's truly a out of body experience. Gets thrown around a lot, but it's sort of that, but it's in it kind of augmented. I had this moment recently because something about the show was communicated via I forget it was an email or something. I don't know, something recently. But all it was the Marvel Studios, logo. That was it. And it was just part of, some piece of communication that I had, regarding the show. And I forget when this was. But recently I thought I forget when I saw that recently, but I think it just may have been something in there, but like it came across my view at some point in the past, but recently I was thinking about that more and how it feels very, I don't know. It's if I can't really articulate the feeling of feeling something bigger than myself other than saying that. But when I see that logo, knowing that I have multiple reactions of like, oh, this is such a cool thing that I love so much. And I immediately think of like the live action films or the movies that I loved growing up with the comic books. But then I have the 2 seconds in the middle of that whole thing where I remember that I'm also a piece of that. And it's almost too much. Like, I'm like, I can't, it's weird to say that I'm officially part of the Marvel universe in that way, but it's also very gratifying.
Not just in X-Men. You're also in Eyes of Wakanda.
Eyes of Wakanda, and you've done in What If, and
that's right.
These things. I think that I am happy that my eventual kids and their friends will connect to something that I've done, in that way. So there's a lot there that I haven't really processed all the way. I'm really bad at taking things that I've done or am part of and like belaboring them with, the all of the feelings that I have with it. I'm getting better at it, but suffice it to say, it is a joy to know that I'm part of this because it will continue beyond me. And I haven't really wrapped my mind around that yet because I'm just starting in all this stuff really comparatively to the rest of the whole history of everything. But I'm excited to like look back 20, 25 years from now and be like, oh yeah, I remember when that started. So.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, man. It's something, there's something very special about X-Men in general, but especially this anime series and 97, as we've been discussing this entire episode. Like, you know, I like that we have two different viewpoints to this, of like someone who grew up with it, someone who didn't, who just got into it. But like we can both see like the importance that these stories, these episodes, these characters still hold today. I know these characters existed before the show. I know like there's already a big history about that, but like it's you know, widely considered that X-Men the animated series is what really made the X-Men become popular to what it is now. We wouldn't have gotten movies without the animated series. We wouldn't have gotten a lot of bits and like references and like specific things within these movies that we love without the animated series. Like Channing Tatum as Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine. A lot of things within Deadpool and Wolverine we would not have gotten without the solidification of what these characters are in the animated series. And I can't wait to see like them in Doomsday. I can't wait to see like how they like bring them back after Secret Wars, man.
Yeah, I cannot wait till Doomsday and all that stuff. So
it's awesome. It brings so many people together. I feel like X-Men is it's definitely one of the pillars of what helps bring and make a community together. And obviously you get to be a part of that, and that's like awesome. That's like what it's all about, right?
It's everything. It's everything. I am so lucky. I'm so lucky.
Yeah. Well, before we end it, just a couple of like mini speed round questions, just because I feel like it's fun. And I just want to state here on the record that this is being recorded before any and all mentions, if there is any references to Bishop in Marvel Rivals.
Right.
We have no idea. We don't want to get anybody in trouble with any NDAs or whatever. We have no idea what's happening, okay? But I want to ask, I assume you've played Marvel Rivals.
I have not played personally. I've seen it.
Okay.
I have friends that are in it.
Yes.
I have not personally downloaded the thing. Yeah.
Understood.
But it's coming.
Yes, yeah. Then I just want to ask, from whatever knowledge you have, if Bishop were to be a character, and of course if you got to voice him, what would you hope he would look like, play like? What do you think his ultimate would be? Like, what would you say for your ultimate, you know?
I don't know. Well, first of all, I have no knowledge if he's going to be a character or not.
Yes, we have no idea. No confirmation.
I would love...
all speculative.
Yeah.
Hypotheticals.
I don't know. There was a piece of art that I saw fairly recently that somebody did where it was kind of this cool, abstract, kind of blocky version of Bishop, where like, you know, like the big overdeveloped like muscle, like the big chest and the big arms.
Right.
You know, just kind of perspective wise, just kind of that cool stylized way. So I think that'd be neat. You know, with the hair and everything.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if I don't know which version of the hair I'd want, because I like both of them. So that, and then I think ultimate probably is maybe drawing energy from some either source from space or from the earth to push out. But also like the biggest gun possible, because like all these pictures of him with like his big blasters and stuff, and I have the Sideshow statue in my living room.
Oh my god.
So something like that, I think would be pretty dope.
That's amazing. What do you think like his ultimate voice line would be, if you can think of one?
Oh man,
because I can't think of off the top of my head like if he has like a saying, you know.
Not really. I mean, you know, if it's any one of my favorite lines in the show, "Time for an exorcism, punks." If that could be maybe immortalized in or something having to do with that, because I like to play on words, because his name is Bishop, so church, so exorcism. Something.
Checkmate, punks.
Yeah. My brother to the premiere of X-Men, he wore a Bishop shirt, but it was the chest piece on it. Which, shout out to my brother who's doing the real, hero work out there, reporting on. He's been reporting on the space stuff going on.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, so all the stuff with the land,
the Fantastic Four going up and down. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You got it.
Shout outs to them. That's awesome, man. I think my personal vision for Bishop would be, he's like a tank, a vanguard type of character, where he could absorb, obviously, like any upcoming fire, like he can take that damage, and then he has certain cooldown and abilities that, of course, can redirect it. His primary is like his big gun, and over time, the more he gets hit, the stronger his normal shots become. Maybe there's a charge shot or whatever. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I would like there to be like some type of time travel like gimmick, like a quick one, like a small thing, maybe cool. Traversal.
Oh. Yeah, I was gonna say that'd be cool if like somebody comes to attack and he just reverses time.
Yeah.
A
team up, a cool team up. They're teasing, I think, Cyclops coming in the next season as of recording. A cool team up will be like exactly from 97, where Cyclops shoots Bishop, and that would be like sick.
I know. Also, I love Ray, so working with her. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. Take that, NetEase, Marvel. Guang Guang, if you're listening, Guang Guang, please take notes. Hire Isaac. Go ahead.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for putting up with that. Do you have any final thoughts, Isaac, about anything X-Men related or anything else at all?
Just thank you to you for being enthusiastic in creating this show, and also thanks to everybody that's watching and listening. And also, I'll see you at season 2.
Season 2, man. It's soon. Soon. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Isaac, thank you so much for coming back on the show to geek out about the X-Men. I know we didn't talk about like specific episodes all that much, but like we're talking about the themes and like what is at the heart of X-Men the animated series, what that means to us, what that means for people. And I think that's like, this conversation couldn't have gone any better. And just thank you so much for taking the time out of saving the world and like trying to get back to your right time, trying to get back to the future to be here today.
Of course, dude.
All right, that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. If you want to hear more from Isaac, be sure to follow him on his socials and check out his website, irsvoices.com. Be sure to let us know what you think about this episode somewhere on the internet. Follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to rate us 5 stars and leave a comment down below. We'll catch you on the next one. Next time on the Razzle Dazzle Show. What do you think you understood about storytelling in the 90s that still holds true today?
What's the humanity in the story? What is at stake for the individual? What is the true heart's desire or the deepest fear or the darkest sadness? And that's where your story's going to come from if the character has to confront something.
Yeah, I mean, the human drama, we really pushed that. It was kind of a gift in a way that we couldn't show a lot of sex and violence because it was a kid's show with much tighter rules. So we're trying to make this 22 minutes as exciting as we could. And we realized we really pumped up all the human drama to bring people back because we couldn't show the physical drama that we could if it were a more adult show. So people laugh and say, "Oh, it's like a soap opera," and it really was. And in soap operas, you fall in love. You need to fall in love, or at least have empathy for or understand the characters, because that's what it's all about.
Tune in next week.